my name is Genesis and welcome back to my channel. If you notice that I barely move my neck, it's because I have a massive kink somewhere on my neck and it's so hard for me to move or anything like that. So bear with me through this book haul because I decided to do a 40 book haul when my neck is not feeling okay. I don't know why, but we're gonna do it. I even pulled out my always fully booked planner for this because I'm not gonna remember all 40 books that I got. So I have my list here, my bookish haul for July. Lately, I've been writing down all of these books and just my entire haul and all of that into my reading tracker in Notion. I'm gonna link it below. Absolutely amazing. I love using it. I've been using it since last year, obsessed with it. The very first book that I got this month is a book that is a favorite of mine for this year, and it is Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman. I had to get this original cover because Bloom Books got the rights for the paperback version. They were changing the covers for it, so I had to get the original because there's just something about this one with the chains and also with the heartbeat tattoo. It just gives so much of the story in just this alone that I cannot let it go. Cora and Dean have despised each other for a very long time. Unfortunately, they kind of have to be in proximity within each other because Dean is dating Cora's sister. One night at the bar when Cora is about to leave, she gets kidnapped along with Dean and they spend weeks chained up with this crazy person that unfortunately forces them to do things that obviously no one wants to do, especially under those circumstances and the fact that they hate each other. But it's through those weeks that they find solace in each other, and when they get out of it, they are completely different people. They have changed so much, and watching Cora's journey to healing, as well as Dean, but specifically Cora's, was definitely the hardest, and it just breaks your heart. And speaking of Still Beating, I also got this brand new cover version of Still Beating. Bloom Books sent it to me, so I'm super thankful for that because why not collect books that you love and have multiple copies of? Do not recommend it for your bank account. At this point, I feel like you have heard me talk about this series way too much, and I have yet to finish reading it because I've only read the very first book, and that is Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home and Daisy Hates the Great Undoing. I had to snag these covers because, once again, they're getting republished now in August with brand new covers, and I do not like those new covers. I have expressed my feelings on those covers before. I don't know what the publisher was thinking. Apparently they said that it's because they want people to want to look at those books when they're passing by the store. Wrong, because if I were to see that on the store, I'm just immediately going to bypass it. I'm not even gonna grab it out of the shelf to look at it. Many people have expressed the exact same thing, so I have no idea what they were thinking. I feel like these covers fit them a whole lot more. I have heard of Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree a lot online, and I had to get it because it's a cozy fantasy, and lately I've been loving that cozy fantasy aspect. I started reading cozy fantasy with Rachel Griffin's The Nature of Witches. I believe it was either last year or the year before that, and I completely fell in love with Rachel's writing. Then I read Wild as the Witch, which is another cozy fantasy, and then this year I read Bring Me Your Midnight, another cozy fantasy. So I'm loving that low stakes fantasy where it's not necessarily a person who's evil. It's just like either internal conflict or it's like a character versus nature kind of thing going on. So I'm definitely eager to dive into this. I actually don't know much about it, and I even have the second book for this, which comes out in November if I'm not mistaken, but I'm hoping to dive into this in September. I wanted to read it ASAP. As soon as I received it, I wanted to read it, but I know that it's going to feel better to dive into this during the fall season, even though Puerto Rico doesn't experience fall, just to mentally transport myself into being into United States fall season, or even Europe kind of fall season, where it's just like rainy days and like the leaves changing color and just getting like cooler nights and cooler days. This is gonna serve me for that, to just kind of transport myself into that mindset. This next book is a top favorite of mine, and that is Ignite by Melanie Harlow. I absolutely adore this book. There was an alternate cover version, but there's something about this cover that I was like, I need to snag it. This is an age gap romance between two neighbors. We have Dex, who's a single dad of two little girls, and then we have Winnie, who is alone in her apartment, and suddenly she accidentally sets off the fire alarm, and Dex rushes in to save her, but unfortunately stumbles upon her while she's naked. That kind of sets off a chain of events, or just more of a chain of feelings between the characters, individually as well as with each other. Dex is trying not to look at Winnie as someone else than just his neighbor, but of course it's very hard, especially when Winnie is a romance junkie and she just wants to have that romance. She did sworn off men for an entire year because she has been getting her heart broken a lot, but after one night of kissing, that promise and that rule just goes down the drain. Dex is an absolute wonderful dad and just human being. He is such a grump, but oh my gosh, the way that he treats his daughters, and his daughters are such a hoot. I absolutely adore them. They're the funniest kids. Like, typically I read single dad romances and I will not necessarily remember the kids. They typically, to me, they're there and I love them and adore them, but then they just kind of like, I completely forget that they exist. This is not the case with this book. These girls are just something else. They're so present in the story. The things they come up with just make you laugh out loud out of nowhere. Definitely a 5 out of 5. I have read this book at least 3 or 4 times throughout the years. It's a comfort read for me at this point. This entire world is a comfort read for me. This features kind of like a sex club, although the owners will say it's not a sex club, but it's kind of like a kink based sex club in the sense that you can select the kind of kinks that you would like to watch. You will never touch the performers. The performers are completely safe from the public or just people watching them. There are bodyguards stationed everywhere, so they're entirely safe. We have Oakland, who received the terrible news that her parents used her tuition money to be able to get a car. This leaves her completely stranded in terms of not having money to pay for college, and she's about to start college. So her best friend Olivia suggests, hey, maybe you should try working for my uncle's club. Oakland decides to try it out. She doesn't necessarily have to perform anything sexual. She can just stay at the bar, but she decides to dive into that aspect as well, just because it does give more money. Not knowing that there is a person watching who completely entranced him, not knowing that he's her teacher. And for him, he also has no idea that she's about to be his student in college. When he finds out, he knows that he should stay away, but he cannot do that. He's absolutely enamored with her. So he continues to go and watch her while at the same time dealing with his own mental health battle, which it's just absolutely devastating, you guys. Like, reading his story at the beginning, you may not necessarily know what's wrong, like what is happening. And later on, as you continue to watch his journey, it breaks you just thinking about it. Gave me goosebumps because it really hits you. We tend to not read much about that kind of mental health in men in romance books, so it was definitely refreshing to have Fiona Cole give us that aspect of it and give us Oakland be the one to help him and guide him come out of it. This next book I bought because I have read one book by the author before, completely sold me on her writing, and that is Brittany's Cherry and the book The Gravity of Us. I actually have no idea what this series is about, but I have been seeing the first book pretty much since it came out online on Goodreads, and just ever since I saw it, I remember thinking, wow, that looks like a very emotionally heavy book. And again, after reading The Coldest Winter by the same author, I was like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot. This following book was sent to me by Wednesday Books, and that is What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. And so I don't miss anything about what this book is about. I'm gonna read what's in the back, and it says, Bolivian Argentinian Inés Olivera belongs to the glittering upper-class society of 19th century Buenos Aires, steeped in old world magic that's been forgotten. Inés has everything except for what she yearns for the most, her globe-trotting parents who frequently leave her behind. Aww. When she receives word of their tragic deaths, Inés inherits their massive fortune and a mysterious guardian. Searching for answers, she sails to Cairo, bringing a golden ring her father sent to her for safekeeping before he died. But upon her arrival, the old world magic tethered to the ring pulls her down a dark and dangerous path. With her guardian's infuriatingly handsome assistant thwarting her at every turn, Inés must rely on ancient magic to uncover the truth about her parents' disappearance or risk becoming a pawn in a larger game that will kill her. Sounds like an adventurous romantic read, so Can't wait to read this one. This next package that I got features 2 special editions. They are a duet, and it is the Cat and Mouse series. This was done by Mystic Box. Here we have Hunting Adeline and Hunting Adeline. I never know how to pronounce those two. And I also have heard people say Adeline. For some reason, I always stuck with Adeline. I feel like it flows a lot easier for me, so I have stuck with that. But these editions are just absolutely stunning. Unfortunately, this box found out that the design was actually created by AI, so they are collecting all of the copies, so I will be returning these, and they are redesigning the covers, so I can't wait to see how the new ones will look. This is the first book in the Element series, The Air He Breathes. Just listen to this so you understand how I know this is going to destroy me. It says, I was warned about Tristan Cole. Stay away from him, people said. He's cruel, he's cold, he's damaged. It's easy to judge a man because of his past, to look at Tristan and see a monster. But I couldn't do that. I had to accept the wreckage that lived inside of him because it also lived inside of me. We were both empty. We were both looking for something else, something more. We both wanted to put together the shattered pieces of our yesterdays. Then perhaps we could finally remember how to breathe. Doesn't it sound like it's just full of angst and it's going to break my heart and destroy me? Yep. Am I ready to dive into it? Absolutely. This next book is a special edition by a favorite author of mine, and that is What Was Meant to Be by QB Tyler. QB Tyler writes some of the most delicious, taboo, forbidden romances. This book was so good. It's still from QB. My absolute favorite one is Unconditional. There's something about that book that as soon as I just started reading it, it became everything for me. Still, it doesn't take away the fact that this is another fantastic, forbidden, taboo romance. Jacob and Whitney have been completely inseparable since she was a baby because Jacob is Whitney's parents' best friend. Unbeknownst to Whitney's parents, Jacob and Whitney started a relationship when she's around 18 years old. They started dating in secret. Unfortunately, Jacob breaks Whitney's heart and he leaves. Now he finds out that she is about to get married, that she's engaged, and he's like, He comes back in her life, disrupts everything that she knows, and is ready to get her back. He even says something along the lines of that she could be married with 3 kids and she will still be his and she will still belong to him. Any kind of feminism I had just poof out the window. So the next book that I got was Bleeding Hearts by Jess Taylor. This is an art copy, but I actually beta read this a couple of months ago. This is a best friends to lovers. The friendship in this book is just absolutely amazing. I loved the text conversations. That was probably the highlight for me. There are like pages upon pages, let me look for them, where it's, where it's just text conversations after text conversations. And honestly, this is where you find out a lot more about the characters and their relationship, because while we do meet them in Forget Me Not and they do kind of create a friendship there, this is the book where we see that slowly get developed and then slowly turn into like, I like her, I like him, but my baggage from the past doesn't let me dive into something with this person. And it's that back and forth that just made this book super good. Next book is another special edition, and it's one of my top favorites, and it is In Peace Lies Havoc by Amo Jones. I love Amo's writing. Absolutely chaotic, queen of dark romance, but I don't know how she does it. She nails it, and this is the first book that I read by her, and I absolutely, like, it just became everything for me. It's like an R-rated Cirque du Soleil without it being a circus, but it's not a carnival either. You just need to be ready to lose your mind, because that's really what it is. But this is going to be a unicorn find in a way, because the author found out that this dust jacket design is AI. So she is working on creating a brand new design, and it's only going to be available as signings, just as this one was. This actually came from Babe, Australia. A friend of mine went there and got it for me. But again, this is going to be a unicorn, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to get the new version. We shall see. Next, I received a PR package by El Maldonado for Severed by Vengeance. This book was actually really good. It was, I believe it's like a kind of mafia-ish dark romance. And this PR package actually came with trope cards. I love trope cards. They're my absolute favorite. So we have dark romance. I finally have it. That's amazing. I'm so excited. We have grumpy sunshine. We have enemies to lovers, reverse harem, mafia romance. This one actually does not have reverse harem. I think it was just part of the trope cards. This is a cop criminal type of romance. She's the cop. He's the criminal. The person that she has admired throughout her entire life, whom she views as an uncle, gets murdered. And the person responsible is his son, who's our male main character, Derek. He has his reasons for doing what he did. Now he wants to get close to Evangelina for his own reasons, but he's not taking into account the fact that he is actually starting to have feelings for her and all that stuff. So it turns into this kind of like battle within himself, and a little bit hot and cold at times, but still a great read. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. It was a really good book. To Save by Abby Millsaps. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. This is the first book in what I believe is a trilogy. I could be very wrong about this. This one is a reverse harem sports college romance. Next book, I already mentioned this in my Prime Day haul, and it was The Deal, so I'm not gonna get into this. I will say that if you have just started reading The Deal, like maybe in the last 3 or 4 years, there is something you may not know about this series. So if you want to find out, check the video that I will share either somewhere on the screen or down below, because there's something that not a lot of people know unless you were from back in the day reading this book like in 2015. And even then, some people may not know something about this book and how it connects to something else. So watch that video so that you find out as well. Next, I received one of my top favorite series ever, and it is the Addicted series and Calloway Sister series. I started reading the series back in 2015, and I've read it at least 4 to 5 times. Thinking about this series gives me so much joy and kind of nostalgia a little bit. It's one of those series that I want to protect with my entire life. It's the very first series and pretty much the only series I've read so far where I suffered reading the books in terms of like, oh my gosh, these books are ending. This series is ending. When I got to Addicted After All, which has yet to come out through Berkeley, I knew that we were gonna get more books in the series in terms of the Calloway Sister series, but reading the ending for Lily and Lauren, that wrecked me. Like, I was crying because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be with these characters anymore, knowing that they were still going to appear very much in the Calloway Sister series, but still my brain would not grasp that, and I just felt like a void was left in my heart. And then when the last book of the series came out, which was Some Kind of Perfect, I remember getting that book while I was on a cruise in 2016. I got internet so that I could download it on my Kindle. As soon as I downloaded it, I was like, nope, I'm not reading it. I cannot say goodbye to these characters. And I'm getting teary-eyed because I remember thinking, I don't want to say goodbye. I don't want to. These characters became everything for me. I saw myself in every single character. There was something that each one of them had that I like related to a lot. Wow, Jen, dear goodness. So I spent 2 years ignoring the last book of the series. Finally, I gave in, I read it, and it just became everything for me. But then it also came the realization of, oh my gosh, it's the end. Knowing that the Like Us series was right around the corner, which is the kids' stories, but even then, it still felt like a void was left in my heart, and I truly, deeply suffered it. To this day, I still suffer it. I can't wait to dive into the series again for like the 5th or 6th time, so that's gonna be very exciting for me. But yeah, it's just one of my top favorites ever. Next, I got a PR package by Catherine Coles for Glimmers of You. This book just came out on August 1st. This one has a brother's best friend romance. There are 2 main characters, actually used to be kind of close when they were younger. Unfortunately, Gray went through something and Caden was there, and it shattered his world so much that he put distance between himself and her. Fast forward years later, they have created a bit of a hate towards each other because of that distance. Gray cannot stand him at all. Obviously, she doesn't know his reasons, but they do come together in order to fake date to help each other out. What they don't know when they start this fake dating scheme is that there is something lurking, or someone lurking in the corners and just creating havoc for gray. But of course, in true Catherine Cole's fashion, I did not guess it at all. It threw me for a loop. I was like, what? I did not see that coming, which just goes to show the type of storyteller that Catherine Cole's is. And this book came with this Lost and Found Essentials metal box. It also came with some trope cards that I already mentioned. And in this box, we have stickers. We have, I forget what this is called. We have a compass. Ta-da. We have some band-aids. We have a money clip because our male main character, Caden, is a billionaire. So we need money clips for our non-existent money because we keep wasting it on books. We have whistle, we have a flashlight, we have matches. So I already have another video for these, but I'm just going to show them because I did get these during July. And it's my birthday book haul that I got in Barnes & Noble. So I got 10 books there. And these are the books. If you guys want to know more about them, I'll leave a link down below so you guys can watch that video. I'm not even kidding when I say I feel like I have run a marathon with this book haul because I keep grabbing them from my reading room, bringing them here, taking them back, grabbing another set of books. It's been exhausting and it's hot. The rain, instead of cooling the day, actually made it hotter. So dealing with that as well. The next book that I received is a recent release, and that is Crossed by Emily McIntyre. I read this in May, I believe. I've had an arc for it for months and months and months now, and I finally read it in, I think it was in May or in June. Can't even remember. While I love this entire series, this book did fall flat for me. It just wasn't, I don't know, it felt like it had a completely different tone than the other books of the series. It was a slow burn, and I don't mind slow burns. I love them, but I don't know, I felt a major disconnect from the characters as well as the story. And I also was not a fan of how the ending was handled, specifically when it came to the major plot twist that happened towards the end. It just felt completely unnecessary and like it was thrown in there for shock factor, which again I'm sad about because I love Emily. I really wanted to love this book. I'm hoping the last book of the series is one that I do enjoy. This book was actually sent to me by Bloom Books, and it came with this little art print or character art. I don't even know what to call this. I believe if you pre-ordered Crossed, you were going to get this with the book as well, which I think is pretty neat. This next book, I got it through a trade with a friend of mine, and it is Wrath by Ellis James. I started reading this book. It's been probably a year since I started reading this book, and I never finished it because it is a very thick book. I do want to finish it. It's a sports romance, which of course I love. This is how it looks in the back. It came also with an, I don't like opening it that much. It also came with this art print from chapter 1, if I'm not mistaken. And it also came with this page overlay. Ooh, I love page overlays so much. It's the same design as the art print. I received this as a gift, and it is Wolf by Penelope Black. I've been wanting to read a book by Penelope Black for a while now. So when my friend said, hey, do you want this book? I was like, sure. So I snagged it. I believe this is a reverse harem, I think. And finally, the last 4 books that I got that I'm not going to get into now because I do want to make a separate video for all of the books that I've gotten from Bookstagram friends for my birthday. I'm still missing like 1 or 2 that are still on the way because Amazon takes forever to ship to Puerto Rico. Once it ships, it arrives very fast, but it's the process of wanting to ship the book that takes forever. These are the books, and in that next video that I will make, I will say who gifted me which book and also get into the books because I have read 3 of these. One of them is in my August TBR, so stay tuned for that video. And that is it for my book haul from July. Wow, that was a huge one, and I have no idea where to put my books. We're just going to rest for the rest of the day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on another video. Bye.